If someone had told me that a simple walk around the neighborhood could reshape my entire understanding of what's possible, I would have smiled politely and changed the subject. But here I am, standing in my kitchen on a Sunday morning, still feeling the aftershocks of a conversation that happened under streetlights and autumn stars. I'm Margaret, and this is the story of how my son gave me permission to want something I'd convinced myself was no longer mine to have. But first, where are you listening from? Drop a comment and tell me. Boston? Denver? Some beautiful small town I've never heard of? I love knowing we're connected, you and me, across whatever distance separates us. Because this story, I think, belongs to anyone who's ever wondered if it's too late to start again. Let me take you back to that September evening. The day had been unremarkable in every way. I'd spent the afternoon organizing my craft supplies, again, because that's what you do when you need to feel productive without actually producing anything. My son, Connor, had been visiting for the weekend, one of his increasingly rare trips home now that he'd built a life of his own an hour away. At 28, he'd grown into the kind of man who notices things. The kind who refills your water glass without being asked, who remembers which brand of tea you prefer, who can read the weather patterns of your moods before you've even acknowledged them yourself. That evening, just as the sun started its slow descent, he appeared in the kitchen doorway wearing his running shoes, and that particular expression that meant he wanted company, not exercise. Feel like a walk? He asked. The long route or the short one? Depends on what we end up talking about. Something in his tone made me set down the dish towel and reach for my jacket. September in our neighborhood is magic hour. The heat of summer has finally broken, but winter hasn't announced its intentions yet. Everything exists in this perfect suspended moment. Lawns still green, flowers still blooming, the air carrying that particular smell of wood smoke and possibility. We walked in comfortable silence for the first few blocks. Connor had always been like that, content to let quiet be quiet, never rushing to fill space with unnecessary words. I'd raised him that way. Or maybe he'd just been born with that kind of patience. But I could feel something building in him. The way he kept his hands in his pockets. The way he cleared his throat twice without saying anything. The way his pace slowed as we approached Riverside Park. "Mom," he finally said, and the weight in that single word made my heart skip. "There's something I need to talk to you about." Every parent knows that particular combination of words. We've rehearsed our responses to them since the day our children were born. Accident, pregnancy, illness, job loss. The mind races through possibilities like flipping through a deck of catastrophe cards. "I'm listening," I said, keeping my voice steady even as my pulse quickened. "It's about David. David." The name landed between us like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples in every direction. David Monroe lived 3 houses down and across the street. He'd been there for 6 years now, ever since his wife passed from cancer, and he needed a fresh start somewhere that didn't whisper her name from every corner. We'd become friends the way neighbors do, gradually, through small kindnesses exchanged over time. He'd helped me plant my vegetable garden this spring after my divorce. I'd brought him soup when he had pneumonia 2 winters ago. He'd fixed my porch light without being asked. I'd cleared the snow from his driveway on mornings when his back was acting up. Nothing romantic. Nothing complicated. Just 2 people who'd both experienced loss and understood the particular texture of loneliness that comes with it. Except for the way my heart did that small, foolish flutter when I saw his truck pull into his driveway. Except for the way I found myself glancing out the front window more often than necessary. Except for the way conversations with him felt like coming home to a fire already burning. I'd ignored all of it. Filed it away under things that aren't for me anymore and complications I don't need. "What about David?" I asked Connor, proud of how casual I sounded. My son stopped walking. We'd reached the entrance to the park, that green space with the duck pond and walking trail where I'd pushed him on swings 2 decades ago. In the fading light, it looked painted. Every tree, every bench, every blade of grass touched with gold. "I've been talking with him," Connor said. "For months now, actually." "Talking about what?" "About you." "About him." "About the fact that you're both pretending something isn't there." My breath caught. "Connor, I don't know what you think." "Mom." He turned to face me fully, his expression gentle but firm. "I'm not a kid anymore. I see things. The way you light up when he mentions he'll be stopping by. The way he finds excuses to fix things at your house even when nothing's broken. The way you both dance around each other like middle schoolers at their first dance. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. We're just neighbors, friends. You're more than that. Or you could be if you'd let yourself want it. We started walking again, slower now, following the path around the pond. A family of ducks glided across the water, leaving V-shaped ripples in their wake. Somewhere in the distance, children shrieked with laughter on the playground. "Why are you bringing this up?" I asked quietly. Connor was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight I hadn't heard before. "I got a job offer. In Portland, 3,000 miles away." "Connor, that's wonderful." I said it automatically, the way mothers do, pushing aside the sudden hollow feeling in my chest. "When?" "I start in 6 weeks. It's everything I've been working toward. The position, the salary, the chance to really build something. I'm so proud of you." "I know you are." He stopped again, this time at a bench overlooking the pond. We both sat. "But I need to know you're okay before I go. Really okay. Not just surviving okay, but living okay." "Sweetheart, I'm fine. I've been on my own for 5 years now. I have my routines, my garden, my book club, your routines," he interrupted gently. "Your careful, safe, predictable routines that keep you busy but not fulfilled. Mom, when's the last time you did something just because it made you happy? Not because it needed doing, not because someone else needed it, but because you wanted it." The question hung in the air between us. I couldn't answer it. "I talked to David," Connor continued. "Really talked to him. Asked him straight out if he had feelings for you." "Connor!" Embarrassment and something else, was it hope? Flooded through me. He said yes. He said he's been trying to respect your space, not push, not assume. He said he knows you've been hurt and you're protecting yourself, and he understands that. But he also said he'd like the chance to see if there's something there, if you were open to it. My hands were trembling. I clasped them together in my lap. "You had no right." "I had every right." His voice was firm but kind. "You spent 28 years making sure I was okay. You put yourself last for my entire childhood. You worked 2 jobs after the divorce to keep me in the same school district. You drove me to every practice, every game, every college visit. You've earned the right to think about yourself, to want something for yourself." Tears pricked at my eyes. "I don't know how to do this anymore. I'm 53 years old, Connor. I'm not who I used to be. And the idea of being vulnerable again, of risking what? Being happy?" He took my hand. "Mom, you taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the thing anyway. You told me that when I was scared to leave for college. I'm telling it back to you now." We sat in silence as the light continued to fade. The street lamps around the park flickered on one by one like stars descending to earth. Somewhere across the pond, I heard the low murmur of voices, the rhythmic creak of the swing set, the ordinary symphony of evening in a small park. "What did you tell him?" I finally asked. "I told him I couldn't speak for you. I told him you'd need to make your own choice. But I also told him that if he was here at this bench at 7 o'clock tonight, I'd do my best to get you here too. So you could talk." Really talk? My heart hammered against my ribs. "He's here, now? He's waiting by the oak tree on the other side of the pond. He can't see us from there, and he won't come over unless you want him to. If you want to leave right now, we can. No judgment, no pressure. But Mom," Connor squeezed my hand, "don't let fear make this decision, please." I looked across the pond. In the growing darkness, I could just make out a figure standing beneath the massive oak tree, hands in pockets, shoulders slightly hunched in that particular way David had when he was nervous. How many times had I imagined this? How many nights had I lain awake thinking about what it might be like to be seen, really seen by someone who understood loss and resilience and the complicated work of building a life from broken pieces? "What if it doesn't work?" I whispered. "Then it doesn't work. But what if it does?" I stood up. My legs felt unsteady, like I was learning to walk on a ship's deck. Connor stood with me. "Do you want me to come with you?" he asked. "No, but—" "Don't go far," he smiled. "I'll be right here." Take all the time you need. The walk around the pond felt like it took both seconds and hours. My mind raced through everything I should say, everything I shouldn't say, every possible outcome of this conversation. But my feet kept moving forward, one step at a time, carrying me towards something I'd convinced myself was no longer possible. David saw me coming. He straightened, took a step forward, then seemed to think better of it and waited. As I got closer, I could see the uncertainty in his expression, the hope he was trying to contain. "Hi," he said when I reached him. "Hi." For a moment, we just stood there. Two middle-aged people awkwardly trying to figure out how to do something neither of us had done in decades. "Connor told you I'd be here," he said. It wasn't a question, he did. "He also told me about your conversation." "About what you said," David nodded slowly. "I hope that's okay." He asked me direct questions, and I decided I was done lying about how I feel. "And how do you feel?" He took a breath. "Like I wake up every morning hoping I'll see you in your garden. Like every time I find a reason to stop by your house, I'm really just looking for an excuse to be near you. Like I've been given a second chance at something good, but I'm terrified of pushing too hard and losing it before it even starts." The honesty in his words cracked something open inside me. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I'm scared of wanting this and having it fall apart. I'm scared of being vulnerable again. I'm scared that I'm too old, too set in my ways, too damaged from my marriage to be good at this anymore. Margaret." He said my name like it was something precious. "I'm scared too, but I'm more scared of letting this pass by without even trying. We're not kids. We've both been through hell and come out the other side. Maybe that means we know better what matters now. What matters? Honesty, patience, showing up. Building something real, even if it's slow. Even if it's imperfect." He paused. "I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm not even asking you to call me your boyfriend. I'm just asking if you'd like to get coffee tomorrow morning. And if that goes well, maybe dinner next week. And we see where it goes from there." It was so reasonable, so gentle, so completely without pressure. And yet it required everything from me, the courage to say yes to possibility, to step outside the safe routines I'd built, to risk feeling something again. I thought about Connor, 3,000 miles away in Portland, building his life. I thought about the empty evenings in my house, filled with television and crossword puzzles, and the careful, small life I'd constructed to protect myself from more hurt. And I thought about this man in front of me, who'd lost his wife and rebuilt his life one small day at a time, who'd been patient and kind and present without asking for anything in return. "Coffee tomorrow sounds nice," I heard myself say. The smile that broke across David's face was like sunrise. We didn't kiss. We didn't even hold hands. We just stood there under that oak tree, grinning at each other like teenagers who'd just managed to ask each other to prom. 8 o'clock? He asked. "That place on Main Street with the good scones?" 8 o'clock, I confirmed. Connor appeared from the other side of the pond, giving us enough distance to respect our privacy, but close enough to see how things had gone. The expression on his face when he saw us both smiling made my heart swell. We walked home together, the three of us, taking the long route through neighborhoods I'd walked 1,000 times, but that somehow looked different now. Every porch light seemed warmer. Every garden seemed more vibrant. The whole world had shifted into a different key. At my front door, Connor hugged me tightly. "I'm proud of you." "Mom," he whispered, "I'm scared out of my mind." "Good. That means it matters." David waved from his own driveway before disappearing inside. I stood on my porch for a moment, looking at my house, the home I'd made for myself after my divorce, the sanctuary I'd built from hurt and determination. It was still my sanctuary. But maybe now it had room for something more. That night, I barely slept. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind running through every possible version of tomorrow's coffee date. What would we talk about? What if the conversation dried up? What if I was awkward? What if he changed his mind? But underneath the anxiety was something else. Something I'd almost forgotten the shape of. Anticipation. The next morning, I changed my outfit 4 times before settling on jeans and a soft green sweater, casual but intentional. I spent too long on my hair and makeup, then washed most of it off because I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard, even though I absolutely was trying. By the time I walked to the cafe, my palms were sweating despite the cool morning air. David was already there, standing outside, holding 2 cups of coffee. I got here early and got nervous waiting. "So I ordered," he said with a sheepish smile. "I remembered you take yours with cream and 1 sugar." The fact that he remembered this small detail made my chest tight. We found a table by the window. For the first 10 minutes, conversation came in fits and starts, commenting on the weather, the cafe's new menu, the construction happening downtown. Safe topics. Neutral territory. But then David said something that changed everything. Can I be honest about something? Please. I'm terrified I'm going to mess this up. I haven't done this in 12 years. I don't know the rules anymore, if there even are rules. I don't know if I'm supposed to play it cool or be straightforward or… David. I reached across the table, surprising myself, and touched his hand. I'm terrified too, so maybe we can just agree to be honest. No games, no pretending. Just us. Two people who've been through hard things and are trying to figure out if there's something here worth exploring. His hand turned over, palm up, and gently held mine. I'd like that, he said. And just like that, the nervousness settled. We talked for 2 hours. About his wife and my ex-husband, about grief and healing, about Connor's move to Portland and David's daughter in Seattle, about our gardens and our favorite books and that documentary we'd both watched about octopuses. It was easy. It was real. It was exactly what I'd been afraid to hope for. Over the following weeks, we fell into a pattern. Coffee twice a week. Dinner on Fridays. A Sunday afternoon walk through the farmer's market. Each date was simple, pressure-free, just two people learning the landscape of each other's lives. Connor called regularly from Portland, always asking how things were going. I could hear the relief in his voice when I told him about each date, each conversation, each small step forward. "You sound different, Mom," he said one evening. Lighter. "I feel different," I admitted. I didn't realize how heavy I'd been carrying everything until I had someone to share the weight with. That's what I hoped for you. I know. Thank you for being brave enough to say something. For not letting me hide. 3 months after that evening in the park, David and I were sitting on my back porch watching the sunset. The garden we'd planted together was preparing for winter, spent blooms cut back, perennials mulched, everything tucked in against the coming cold. "Connor's coming home for Thanksgiving," I said. "He wants to bring someone. A girl he's been seeing." "That's wonderful. Would you…" I hesitated, then pushed forward. "Would you want to join us? For Thanksgiving dinner?" David set down his coffee mug and looked at me seriously. "Are you sure?" "That's a family thing. I don't want to intrude." "You wouldn't be intruding. You'd be joining. There's a difference." He smiled that slow, warm smile I'd come to love. "Then yes, I'd be honored." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from pink to purple to deep blue. I thought about how different my life looked now from how I'd imagined it that September evening. How taking one small risk, walking across a pond, saying yes to coffee, had opened up a whole new landscape of possibility. I wasn't naive. I knew this relationship, like all relationships, would have its challenges. We were both older, both set in our ways, both carrying our own histories. But we were also both committed to honesty, to patience, to building something authentic rather than perfect. "What are you thinking?" David asked. "That I'm glad Connor pushed me. That I'm glad you were brave enough to say how you felt. That I'm glad I didn't let fear win." He reached for my hand. "Me too." Thanksgiving came with the first real cold snap of the season. Connor arrived with his girlfriend, Emma, a warm, funny woman who fit into our kitchen chaos like she'd always been there. David showed up with wine and stories that had everyone laughing. Watching my son and David talk easily about Portland and job challenges and the best hiking trails in the Pacific Northwest, I felt something settle deep in my chest. This was family. Not the one I'd been born into or the one I'd built through marriage, but the one I was choosing now, messy and blended and completely, wonderfully real. After dinner, while Emma and I did dishes, she said quietly, "Connor talks about you all the time. About how brave you are." "Brave?" I laughed. "I spent 5 years hiding, but you stopped hiding. That's the brave part. Knowing when to open the door again." That night, after everyone had left and the house was quiet again, I stood at my bedroom window looking out at the neighborhood. David's house glowed warm across the street. Connor and Emma were probably already asleep in the guest room. The world was still, but I wasn't still. Something in me was moving, growing, reaching toward light after years of careful containment. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "Thank you for today, for letting me in, for taking a chance on an old guy who's still figuring this out." I typed back, "Thank you for being patient, for showing up, for reminding me what's possible." His response was immediate. "Coffee tomorrow?" "Always," I replied, and I meant it. It's been 8 months now since that September evening. David and I aren't rushing anything. We're taking it slow, learning each other's rhythms, building trust one conversation at a time. We haven't talked about moving in together or getting married. Maybe we will someday. Maybe we won't. What matters is that I'm no longer living in fear. I'm no longer hiding behind routines and safety, and the belief that my best days are behind me. I'm 53 years old and I'm falling in love. It looks different than it did at 20 or 30. It's slower, deeper, more intentional. It's built on friendship and respect and the understanding that we're both works in progress. It's not perfect, but it's real, and that's more than enough. Connor called last week with news. He and Emma are engaged. They want to get married next summer here in town with a small ceremony in Riverside Park. By the oak tree, he said, where you and David started. It feels right, I cried. Happy tears, the kind that come from joy rather than grief. I'm so proud of you, I told him. Mom, you gave me the blueprint. You showed me that it's never too late to choose happiness. That courage looks like saying yes even when you're terrified. Emma and I watched you and David this year, and we want what you have. That honest, patient, real kind of love. After we hung up, I sat on my porch and let his words wash over me. I'd spent so many years worried about being a good example for my son, teaching him the right lessons, preparing him for the world. I'd never imagined that one day he'd teach me something so profound in return, that sometimes the people we raise grow up to raise us right back. So here's what I want you to know. Wherever you're listening from, it's not too late. Whatever chapter you think has closed, whatever possibility you filed away under "not for me anymore," it's not too late. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be brave enough to say yes when the right person asks the right question. Will it be scary? Absolutely. Will you second-guess yourself? Constantly. But might it also be the beginning of something beautiful? Something real? Something worth the risk? Yes, 1,000 times, yes. This Saturday, David and I are driving to Portland to visit Connor and Emma. It'll be my first time meeting her family, and I'm nervous in that good way. The way that means something matters. Before we left, I stood in my garden looking at everything we'd planted. Some things had bloomed beautifully. Some hadn't made it. But the garden was fuller, more vibrant, more alive than when I'd tended it alone. David came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. Ready? He asked. I leaned back against him, feeling the solid warmth of his presence, the steady rhythm of his breathing. Ready, I said. And I was. Thank you for walking this journey with me. For listening to my story. For believing maybe that your story isn't finished either. We're never too old to bloom again. We're never too scarred to heal. We're never too careful to be brave. All we need is one person who sees us clearly and the courage to let ourselves be seen. The rest, all the beautiful, messy, unpredictable rest, unfolds one coffee date, one conversation, one small choice at a time. Until next time, keep your heart open. Keep showing up. Keep believing that the best chapters might still be waiting to be written. Because they are. I promise you, they are.